The 1940s in Britain were defined by wartime necessity, a period when ordinary homes became centers of survival and resilience. Air raids, rationing, and resource shortages reshaped domestic life, giving rise to unusual features that would feel completely foreign today. From backyard bomb shelters to tin baths in the kitchen, these quirks reveal how families adapted to crisis with ingenuity and grit. Ever wondered what it was like to sleep under corrugated iron or bathe in 5 inches of water by the stove? Let's dive into 20 peculiar home features that made 1940s Britain both strange and unforgettable. 1. Anderson shelters, backyard bomb bunkers. Introduced in 1939, Anderson shelters were corrugated iron half-cylinders buried 6 feet into British gardens. Designed to withstand air raids, they housed families huddled with blankets, tins of food, and a bucket for sanitation. Damp, cold, and claustrophobic, they were more survival pods than comfort zones. By 1941, over 2.5 million had been installed, though many rural households resisted. Post-war, some shelters were reborn as sheds or even quirky garden features. Imagine sleeping in what felt like a tin coffin while the Blitz roared above, functional but hardly cozy. 2. Blackout curtains and blinds. Homes in darkness. From September 1939, blackout regulations demanded every sliver of light be concealed to prevent German bombers from spotting cities. Thick wool curtains, painted cardboard, or heavy blinds transformed homes into pitch-dark caves. Failing to comply risked hefty fines, and windows were often taped in crisscross patterns to stop glass from shattering inward during explosions. Families stumbled around with dim torches, bumping into furniture, while some rebelled by painting their windows blue to mimic the night. Daily life became a practice in controlled gloom. 3. Gas masks, everyday emergency gear. The government distributed 38 million gas masks in 1939, fearing chemical warfare. Families stored them by doors or under kitchen tables, ready to be worn at a moment's notice. Adults had heavy respirators, while children received brightly colored versions, including the famous Mickey Mouse mask. Although never needed, masks were tested regularly, creating surreal images of families eating dinner in rubbery contraptions. Many ended up as quirky keepsakes or even plant holders. Strange to imagine your most important household accessory doubling as a conversation piece. 4. Tin baths in the kitchen, communal soaks. With indoor plumbing rare, over 2/3 of homes lacked it. Weekly baths meant dragging out a galvanized steel tub into the kitchen. Water boiled on a coal stove filled it only partway. As government guidelines capped baths at 5 inches of water, families bathed in order, from youngest child to oldest adult, sharing the same murky water. These baths sometimes doubled for washing laundry or even preparing wartime recipes. Imagine scrubbing yourself beside the stove while your dinner simmered nearby. A very different kind of multitasking. 5. Outdoor toilets, the backyard dash. Most working-class homes still relied on outdoor privies at the bottom of the garden. Families braved rain, mud, and even bombing raids just to use the toilet. Chamber pots provided nighttime relief, often emptied into the privy each morning. Toilet paper was scarce, and many households relied on newspaper or government-issued rationing. The experience was far from glamorous, cold, drafty, and deeply inconvenient. It's a long way from the comfort of today's ensuite bathrooms. 6. Victory gardens, growing to survive. With food imports disrupted, the Dig for Victory campaign turned millions of backyards into vegetable patches. Lawns, flower beds, and even golf courses were repurposed for potatoes, carrots, and cabbages. Families composted scraps, collected rainwater, and battled pests with homemade remedies. Every bit of ground mattered. Even the roofs of Anderson shelters grew herbs or greens. These gardens weren't just symbolic, they supplied millions of meals a week. Wartime self-sufficiency meant that survival often began with a spade. 7. Coal-fired agar cookers, kitchen powerhouses. The agar cooker, a cast-iron beast, was a prized possession in middle-class homes. Burning coal constantly, it provided heat, cooked meals, boiled water, and even dried laundry. But it was far from efficient. Fuel shortages meant careful management, and keeping it running required daily tending. Families often gathered in the kitchen for warmth, with the AGA doubling as a hearth. It was both a luxury and a burden, demanding more care than today's push-button appliances. 8. Utility Furniture Scheme, Austerity Design. Introduced in 1941, the Utility Furniture Scheme rationed wood, producing over 200,000 pieces annually under the CC41 mark per Board of Trade records. Oak tables, boxy sofas, and wardrobes with dummy drawers followed 3 standardized designs to conserve timber. Austerity curves hid subtle V for victory carvings, a quiet act of rebellion. Living rooms lost frills, functionality trumped flair. The Mass Observation Archive notes families painting or staining pieces to add personality, though paint was rationed too. Post-war, these sturdy designs became cherished heirlooms, their simplicity enduring. Strange fact, some wardrobes were so heavy they doubled as room dividers in cramped homes. Imagine government-issued furniture in your lounge, all sharp angles and no nonsense. Would you embrace this minimalist mandate or yearn for plush cushions? 9. Prefab bungalows, instant homes. After bombings destroyed thousands of houses, the government rolled out prefabricated bungalows. Built from steel and concrete panels, these homes could be assembled in days and came with modern conveniences such as electric cookers and indoor bathrooms, luxuries for many at the time. Intended to last just a decade, some still stand today. They were Britain's closest equivalent to flat-pack housing, offering blitz-weary families a glimpse of post-war modernity. Morrison shelters, tables turned to bunkers. For families without gardens, the Morrison shelter provided indoor protection. Essentially, a steel cage that doubled as a dining table. It allowed people to crawl underneath during raids. They weren't comfortable, cramped, noisy, and hot. But they saved lives in bombed cities. Children often turned them into play forts in quieter times, blurring the line between survival gear and everyday furniture. Imagine serving Sunday dinner on top of your emergency shelter. 11. Ration books, kitchens on a budget. From January 1940, ration books dictated diets. 4 ounces bacon, 2 ounces cheese, 3 pints milk weekly per person. Cupboards held tinned goods under the point system. Spam cost 16 points. Salmon, 24. The Mass Observation Archive describes dawn queues for offal or tripe. Larders often emptied by midweek. Housewives concocted mock goose from parsnips or carrot fudge to stretch rations. Ministry of Food data shows a 20% calorie drop, yet public health improved due to veggie-heavy diets. Strange detail, some swapped ration coupons for cigarettes, a black market barter. Picture cooking with a government's grocery grudge, your pantry a puzzle of points. Could you whip up dinner from scraps and ingenuity, or wilt under the restrictions? 12. Tape-crossed windows, safety stripes. To minimize injuries from shattered glass, windows were taped in crisscross patterns. Entire streets appeared gift-wrapped, with homes resembling giant packages. The tape dulled natural light and left behind sticky residue, but it reduced the risk of flying shards during bomb blasts. It became such a normal sight that post-war Britain felt strange without it. 13. Twin beds, couples apart. In many homes, master bedrooms had twin beds rather than one shared bed. This trend was partly due to rationed linen and partly to hygiene beliefs that separate beds reduced illness. Couples often kept hot water bottles by their feet and chatted across the small gap. For many, intimacy had to adapt to practicality. Far from romantic, but in the 1940s, practicality often came first. 14. Soap, rationing, suds on short supply. Soap was rationed at 3 ounces monthly from 1942. Shampoo was virtually non-existent. Housewives grated bars into Whisked, a whisked liquid soap to stretch supplies, per Imperial War Museum records. Bathrooms stocked harsh carbolic blocks, leaving skin raw but clean. No bath posters pushed dry shampoo, talcum powder or oatmeal rubbed into scalps. One ration lasted 4 weeks if carefully managed, forcing families to prioritize laundry or hygiene. Strange fact. Some used whisked for washing dishes, blurring lines between bath and kitchen. Imagine a lather lottery in your loo, or grating soap like cheese. Would you ration your suds or dream of bubble baths? 15. Bold wallpapers, clashing comforts. Living rooms mixed Art Deco oak paneling with bold red and blue floral wallpapers, per retro renovation. Rationed paint meant patching old patterns, creating clashing geometrics and chintz. Hidden Union Jack motifs or victory slogans added patriotic flair, often concealed behind furniture to avoid ARP scrutiny. The Mass Observation Archive notes families papering over bomb cracks for morale. Strange detail. Some wallpapers were recycled from pre-war magazines, glued with flower paste. Picture walls screaming wartime whimsy. A riot of flowers and flags. Would you embrace this eclectic decoration or strip it for minimalism? 16. Belfast sinks, the kitchen's workhorse. Huge porcelain Belfast sinks with overflow holes dominated 90% of kitchens paired with wooden draining boards. Without dishwashers, hands scrubbed in scalding water, often boiled on the AGA. These sinks doubled as baby baths or laundry tubs, per the 1940s house exhibit. Wartime recipes like mock cream were mixed in their depths. Strange fact, some sinks had wooden lids, turning them into extra counter space. Imagine washing dishes, babies, and clothes in one giant basin, sink, or swim. Literally. In your kitchen? 17. Fold-down work surfaces. Space savers. In cramped 8 by 10 foot kitchens, cupboards featured fold-down ironing boards or pastry shelves, a design perfected in Unisico prefabs. These space savers turned tiny rooms into multi-tool hubs, per historic England. Housewives ironed rationed clothes or rolled dough on the same surface, switching tasks midday. Strange detail, some boards had burn marks from agas, a badge of multitasking. Picture flipping down a counter to bake or iron. Your kitchen, a Swiss Army knife. Would you fold your counter for a wartime bake-off or demand more space? 18. Airing cupboards, warm storage fed by kitchen boilers. Airing cupboards dried laundry around hot water tanks, essential in damp Britain, per Imperial War Museum records. Without dryers, clothes, horses draped with linens filled these steamy closets. Wartime diaries mention hiding love letters or rationed sweets in their warmth. Strange fact. Some families dried apples or herbs inside, turning cupboards into mini pantries. Imagine your linens steaming beside tomorrow's pie filling, cupboard or sauna for your laundry. 19. Glazed interior. Doors light through glass. Modernist homes and prefabs use doors with geometric glass uppers to maximize natural light in blackout-heavy spaces, per Homes and Antiques. These frosted or colored panels cast kaleidoscopic patterns, offering prison cell chic with a sunny twist. The Mass Observation Archive notes families painting glass with wartime slogans for morale. Strange detail. Some doors rattled during raids, adding eerie music to the chaos. Picture a door that's half window, half propaganda. Would you swap solid doors for these light catchers? 20. Wireless sets, the family's lifeline. Perhaps the most treasured feature of the wartime home was the wireless radio. By 1945, over 11 million sets brought the BBC Home Service into living rooms, broadcasting news, recipes, and entertainment. Families gathered around the crackling box, knitting, mending, or simply listening together. In an age of uncertainty, the wireless provided a sense of connection, comfort, and escape. The British home of the 1940s was a place of constant adaptation. Looking back, they remind us how necessity reshapes everyday life and how ordinary homes can become extraordinary in extraordinary times. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more content. Thank you.